What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you at the very least 3 days a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I'd like to take a moment to show my love and appreciation to my subscribers and followers. We've now eclipsed 741,000 subscribers. We continue to climb. Obviously, more than 1.3 million downloads over the last 3 months on iHeartRadio as well. Can't thank y'all enough. Keep the love coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. To continue to like and follow the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on YouTube, just click the bell to get notified of all of our new content, and boom, you'll be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're out doing that, please don't forget to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Go to straightshooterbook.com. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Let's get started with the biggest story of the weekend, one that shook up the nation regarding a race for the White House, which is just over 100 days from now. I'm talking about the election. President Joe Biden has decided to bow out of the race and not seek re-election this November. Biden made the surprise announcement yesterday and quickly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as his favorite to replace him at the top of the Democratic ticket. I'll get to Kamala Harris in a moment, but I'd be remiss in neglecting to acknowledge Biden's decision to not seek a second term, bringing an end to one of the longest political careers in American history. Let me say this. He deserves credit for bowing out. Personally, I think it took too long. I think he should have been out weeks ago. I think in the immediate aftermath of that debate on June 27th, he should have bowed out. I think that there are people within his camp that clearly knew, people in his administration, people that work for him, people amongst his family members, you all knew that there was slippage. And to put him out there in the position that they did, getting him exposed, not just to the national, but the international community, in the manner that he was egregious. We sit here today and you see a whole bunch of folks all over the airwaves praising him, bringing up his patriotism, his commitment to this country, his years of service, how he put country first, et cetera, and none of that is to be summarily dismissed. I certainly respect it, and I want everybody to know that. But I said it before, and I'll say it again. To walk around acting like folks were insulting him, no, we went by what we saw. Whether he was talking, whether he was walking, when he showed up to the debates and looked as bad as he looked, that's when we saw it. Folks close to him, you've been saw it. You knew it. And you tried to slide that through the American people. And then it ultimately got exposed. And now here you want to come with this song and dance about his patriotism and what have you. Yes, it's not a song and dance where he's concerned, but we don't want to hear from y'all. We are seeing pundits damn near in tears talking about what a great, great man he is and how difficult this was. Wait a minute. He was in the Senate for 36 years. He was the vice president for 8 years. He was the president for 4 years, 3.5 years to be exact, obviously planning to finish out his term, which he deserves to do, by the way. That would make 48 years of service. There is no crime. There is nothing to feel bad about telling somebody, hey, it's time. And Van Jones was on CNN, for example, a person that I have profound respect for, calling it tantamount to taking the keys away from your grandpa. Well, guess what? You don't cry when you have to do so. You're okay with the decision because you know it's for grandpa's betterment, because you're trying to save their life. And this was a situation in a roundabout way when it comes to President Joe Biden. You're not what you used to be. None of us are what we were when we were younger. It happens. It happens. And it's not about ageism, because Nancy Pelosi is 3 years older than him and she's sharp as a tack. James Clyburn out of South Carolina, I believe, is around his age, if not a little older. He's sharp as well, along with various others. There's no shame. So let's get that out the way. And let's stop walking around like such a tragedy has been done to President Biden. President Biden is not what he used to be. It doesn't mean that he can't finish out his term and remain president for the next 5 or 6 months. It means we don't need to be looking at him for 4 more years. He has people that he's allocated responsibilities to. They do their job. They bring stuff to his attention. And he doesn't need to be on a campaign trail. It doesn't need to be showing up to debates and having to really articulate and elocute himself in a way That's indicative of somebody who's young and significantly more vibrant. No, he doesn't need to do that, but he can remain in office for the next 6 months. And then afterwards, he walks away with liberals and Democrats all over the place, lauding and praising the job that he did. And you move on. This is not about his ego. This is not about his feelings. This is about the American people, this nation. And what we need to ensure that we'll get 4 more years of something similar and akin to him, as opposed to something similar or directly that is Donald Trump. That's what it's supposed to be. And you want to give yourself the best chance. Which brings me to my next subject, because that's Vice President Harris, the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. As news spread of Joe Biden's decision not to seek re-election, high-profile Democrats were quick to endorse Harris as their favorite candidate to replace him. Some of those names include Bill and Hillary Clinton, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin, and AOC herself, a.k.a. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was once critical of both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The latest addition to the list is Nancy Pelosi, who'd been notably silent in the immediate aftermath of the news. The new energy behind the presumptive Democratic nominee has been tangible the last 24 hours, as the party has raised over $50 million, according to numerous reports. Many feel the former senator and prosecutor is the perfect candidate to take on Donald Trump and the Republicans. Let me stop you right there. That ain't true. She's not the perfect candidate to go up against Donald Trump. Whether it's true or not true, I'm only talking perception, because I got my man Roland Martin coming on later, who knows a hell of a lot more about politics than I do, that'll educate all of us about what's true and not true about her record. But the perception is, when she was Attorney General, when she was a district attorney in San Francisco, attorney general in the state of California, there were black men incarcerated for nonviolent offenses. Sentences were stretched, et cetera, et cetera. This is what they will be said about her. Obviously, even though she was never the czar, the border czar, that's how the Republican side, the conservative side, is going to paint her when it comes to the issue of 10.5 million illegal immigrants crossing our borders since Biden took office in 2021. This is what they're going to say. And so when we understand that, and that's the reality, she is not the quote-unquote perfect candidate. But you know what she is at this moment in time? The best the Democratic Party's got. She's certainly better than Joe Biden. I don't believe she'd be better than Michelle Obama, but that ain't an option. And so that makes her the best we've got. And when you consider her prosecutor's background, when you consider her intellect, when you consider how feisty she can be, when you consider how she could pick Donald Trump apart in terms of the lies that he may tell, and she's younger by over 21, 22 years to Joe Biden. And she's been aching for this opportunity. And she's considered an individual that's been muzzled. I'd say that makes her a pretty damn good candidate. And here's the thing that I won't hold against Kamala Harris. Her performance when she was running for the presidency in 2020, and she couldn't even make it to 2 months. She had to suspend her campaign because she wasn't gaining any traction. I'm not holding that against her, but it's not just because it was 4 years ago. You know why I'm also not doing that? I'm not doing that because it's one thing to go against your contemporaries within the same party trying to prove you're the more viable candidate than the rest of your teammates. It's another thing entirely to go against the enemy, and the enemy in her eyes would be Donald Trump. So her going up against Joe Biden and others is nothing compared to her going up against Donald Trump. That means you're going to have the left on your side, because they certainly ain't going to vote for Donald Trump. It's about getting people to the polls, and it's about getting independents, particularly women, to side with you. Roe v. Wade and how Donald Trump bragged about playing a role in that being overturned. That's something that's right in her wheelhouse. Those 2 impeachments, those civil suits, the 34 felony counts, That's in her wheelhouse. Being able to deduce when he's telling the truth and when he's lying and picking them apart on the spot. She has that capability. Will she do it? I know she'll need to. So again, that's going to make her the best candidate for the job at this particular moment in time. It ain't about who she's going against amongst the Democrats. No, if she's the Democratic nominee, she only got one opponent, and that's Donald Trump, the GOP nominee. I'm not telling you she's going to win. I'm telling you she was a better option than Joe Biden. And at this moment in time, she's the best option the Democratic Party has. Now let me get to the Republicans, because I got to admit, I'm not talking about the Republican Party. I'm just talking about what's going on right now in terms of what Donald Trump is doing. These folks are getting on my nerves because we got to get to Donald Trump and new running mate J.D. Vance. Both men hit the campaign trail this weekend, Saturday to be exact, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. During a rally, Trump asked the crowd who they prefer he run against. Kamala Harris was met with boos, while then incumbent Joe Biden was cheered by the crowd. The next day, Sunday, that is, Joe Biden withdrew from his re-election campaign because basically donors on the Democratic side, the funds were drying up. They were seeing to it. They were letting them know, we ain't going to support the party if you're going to continue to run because we know you can't beat them. Because the slippage that you've shown is not good enough. So we got to put it in the hands of somebody younger, more vibrant, more ready to go. And we're not engaging in ageism here. We ain't talking about folks based on their age. We're talking about Joe Biden. I'll repeat, we know of other folks in their 80s that are sharper than he appears. But we wish him the best. We're not insulting our president. We're just acknowledging fact. Here's another fact. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are running scared. And Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, he's running scared too. What's up with all of this stuff about how legal action may be taken because Biden decided to drop out of the race? Wait a minute. When he took the presidency, initially he alluded to himself being a one-term president, that he was going to be a stopgap to pave the way for a younger generation. He's under no obligation to run for re-election. And the donors who contributed to the Democratic Party, it was to Biden and Harris, not just Biden. So what's the problem with her running now? That's number two. Number three, Donald Trump. I know you ain't trying to engage in, dare I say, lawfare, are you? I know you're not trying to do that. Wasn't it you that was on stage saying that the Democrats were engaging in lawfare because they weren't confident they could beat you straight up in an election? Kamala Harris ain't bringing up insurrection. She ain't bringing up the votes in Georgia. She might bring it up to make an argument against you from a character standpoint. She might bring up the 34 felony convictions, but her objective and what she tweeted out, she's saying, yo, Donald Trump, I'm going to beat you. I can beat you. Ain't that what you wanted? You said that's what you wanted. Now, here's Donald Trump with this statement here. Check this out. So, we are forced to spend time and money on fighting crooked Joe Biden. He posed badly after having a terrible debate and quits the race. Now we have to start all over again. Shouldn't the Republican Party be reimbursed for fraud in that everybody around Joe, including his doctors and the fake news media, knew he was not capable of running for or being president? Just asking. Well, listen to the answer from your boy Stephen A. Anybody trying to hear that? You've been talking about Kamala Harris like you would rake her through the coals, like you would beat her. Suddenly, we're not talking about these lawsuits against you, civil or criminal. What we're talking about now is her going up against you one-on-one for the presidency of the United States. I thought this was what you wanted. So I don't want to hear from J.D. Vance. I don't want to hear from Mike Johnson. I don't want to hear from conservative pundits. I don't want to hear about the legal stuff now. This is what you wanted. This is what we all should want. I want to see Kamala Harris go up against Donald Trump. I want to see her ideas for the country versus his ideas for the country. I want to see her talking about her record against him talking about his record. I want to see you going toe-to-toe against one another. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. This is what you said you wanted. So when you bring up potential lawsuits, that's lawfare. That's deviating from what you said the Democrats were doing just because they couldn't beat you fair and square. If you want to bring up lawfare, is it because you scared you're going to lose to Kamala Harris? I'm just asking. That's what you said. You just asking. I'm just asking. Here's another quote from the real Donald Trump. The Democrats pick a candidate, crooked Joe Biden. He loses the debate badly, then panics and makes mistake after mistake. Is told he can't win and decide they will pick another candidate, probably Harris. They stole a race from Biden after he won it in the primaries. A first. These people are the real threat to democracy. Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that tweet. You're entitled to your feelings. You're entitled to express your thoughts. Just don't go the legal route. Because by going that route, you're engaging in lawfare. And according to you, that's what the Dems were doing because they couldn't beat you fair and square in an election. You might be right. Or then again, you might not. Let's find out. Let's find out. Straight up, you against her. Getting a little scared now? I'm just asking. I don't know. But bringing up all of this legal stuff with Mike Johnson, and J.D. Vance, it sounds scared. Y'all sound scared. What y'all doing being scared of Kamala Harris for? What's up with that? Scared of the ladies now? You scared of the vice president, huh? That's why the crowd was cheering for Joe Biden. You know there was some slippage. He was an easy opponent. You're confirming it's gotten a little bit tougher now, haven't you? Just asking. Coming up, did y'all see the WNBA All-Star Game on Saturday night? Team USA lost, but should we be concerned? I'll get into that. But first, more on a race for the White House as I'll be joined by the one and only Roland Martin with his take on a Democrat strategy as Joe Biden steps aside for the party. Keep it locked right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Back with more in a minute. It's no secret that I live and breathe sports and that I need to be a part of all the action. But how do I do that exactly? It's easy. I use PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, to help turn my sports knowledge into some big-time money. In case you haven't heard, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app where you choose 2, 3, or even up to 6 of your favorite players and then simply pick more or less on their projected in-game stats. It honestly takes less time than it does for Angel Reese to pull down a big rebound and then put it back in for the game-winning bucket. So download the PrizePicks app today and join a community of more than 3 million members. And if you do, PrizePicks will match your first-time deposit of up to $100. Just go to prizepicks.com right now and use code SAS. My initials, of course, in case you didn't figure that out. And use promo code SAS on PrizePicks to receive a first deposit match of up to $100. And then let the games begin. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. It's really that easy. My guest is the host of the popular show, Roland Martin, Unfiltered. I always love talking to him about all things politics, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Please welcome the one and only Roland Martin to the show. What's up, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
I'm all good.
All right, before we even get started, let's flash the shirt. Just stick out that shirt with your big chest and your big shoulders. Stick it out there.
So I got this from the group Georgia Stand Up a couple of years ago. And so you says elect black women, fund black women, believe black women, invest in black women, follow black women, defend black women, hire black women, promote black women. And so you see, they say stand up and vote for black women. So I thought it was a perfect time to pull this shirt out.
Well, it can't get much more perfect than this. I mean, Kamala Harris now as the favorite, to say the least, because President Joe Biden has decided to step aside for the 2024, obviously for the presidency of the United States to be reelected. It's a decision I clearly supported and have supported for weeks now, Roland. When you heard the news, just give me your take and what you've been feeling over the last 24 hours since the news came down.
It was no shock. Look, for 24 days after the June 27th debate, Democrats had been attacking President Joe Biden. In fact, they hit Biden more than they hit Donald Trump. And a week after the debate, the polls were still tied. But every day, the constant barrage, media and Democrats, even after Donald Trump's horrible speech on Thursday, the Democrats were still targeting Biden. So it was no shock the polls had shifted. The polls had changed, if you will. And so that's where they were. And so he really had no choice because of the drumbeat was never going to stop. So he endorses Vice President Kamala Harris. I thought it was an obviously smart move. And you've seen how the party is coalescing around her. $80 million raised in the first 24 hours. Last night, 45,000 Black women were on a Zoom call where they raised $1.5 million. The Democrat, different delegations supporting her. All of the candidates that everybody said was going to vie for the nomination, guess what? They've all endorsed Kamala Harris. Nancy Pelosi, who won an open convention, she won support for Kamala Harris. She has endorsed her. Now, I don't know what Barack Obama.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. I mean, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, both of them. We haven't heard anything from them as of yet.
No. Obama released a statement.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
He praised Joe Biden, and he talked about this open convention process. That's what I'm talking. I didn't mean that we haven't heard from him. I was saying, right.
Michelle and Barack Obama neither have come out and publicly endorsed Kamala Harris for the presidency of the United States, Democratic nomination. What do you make of that, Roland Martin?
Again, I don't know what the hell is going on, but guess what? Ain't nobody waiting on them. And so, they're late to the party. And so President Bill Clinton endorsed Kamala Harris. Hillary Clinton endorsed. As I said, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Roy Cooper, North Carolina Governor, Andy Beshear, Kentucky Governor, Jay Pritzker, Illinois Governor. All of these folks who they said were going to be candidates for the nomination are all backing her. So I don't know what President Obama's doing, but the bottom line is the base ain't waiting, and he's late to the party. I don't understand the motivation. Some people are like, oh, he's operating as an elder statesman. No, nonsense. He should have came out yesterday hard and strong for Kamala Harris, but it don't matter. We focused on moving forward.
Well, I thought it was a foregone conclusion the second that the Clintons came out along with Biden's endorsement, and then the Clintons followed up by endorsing her for the candidacy. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. I still think it's a foregone conclusion, obviously. But let's get back to the president for the moment, because I really, really wanted to talk to you about that. And I feel, you know me, I got love for you, my brother. You know, when you get on me when I deserve to be gotten on, you understand, and vice versa. and it's all right, man. It's all love. Here's my thing. I'm annoyed at this notion, Roland Martin, that the president has been disrespected. Here's my thinking. You're 81. I'm not going to be at 81 what I am in my 50s. I'm not in my 50s what I was in my 20s. It's not a crime. How come you can't look at the president and say, you know something? The rescue plan, the infrastructure bill, student loan relief, an abundance of other things, a black Supreme Court justice, female at that, Ketanji Brown Jackson, what have you. How come you can't look at him and say, sir, we appreciate your years of service. Thank you so much. But it's time for somebody else without being deemed somebody that's beating up on a man. Why is that a problem?
I think it's several factors.
Okay.
First of all, a very successful administration. That's number one. Extremely successful administration. Two, he beat him. He beat Trump. Three, the fact of the matter is that he's still being effective in the office. And so you give leeway to the incumbent. What happened here, and I firmly believe this, Stephen A. I firmly believe that if Democrats had complained for 3 or 4 days after the debate, a lot of this would dissipate it. But the fact that they kept going and kept going and kept going, and so this thing became just a train rushing downhill. So it was the point of no return. And so he made the decision. And he will go down as one of the most consequential presidents in history. This was a decision he did not want to make. He was being forced to make. So we understand that. But I mean, it is what it is. I think the focus right now, if you are Democrats, beat Trump, beat Project 2025, hit the ground, mobilize. The reason I disagree with President Obama and others about an open convention.
I'm with you, by the way.
That's a month away.
I'm with you, by the way. I completely agree with you. I do not agree with them about an open convention. But go ahead.
It's a month away. So you need the next month to be building momentum on the ground. And so the 80 million raised in the first 24 hours, hugely important. And then also, I've had people hit me. Don Lemon tweeted this. Oh, it'd be great if Biden stepped down as president and made Kamala president. I was like,
ridiculous.
No.
Ridiculous.
I said, that's dumb, because what we don't understand is she would have to pick a vice president. Who confirms that? The Republican House. She don't have time to be wrangling over a VP, a short-term presidency. I said, no, Biden stay. She focuses on campaigning, picks her running mate, you move forward. So a lot of people aren't thinking this stuff through. They're just throwing stuff out. And so it made no sense.
I totally agree with you. I'm totally with you on that. The bottom line is this: it's too late in the game for all that. And here's the thing. Listen, from what I've been told, from an administrative perspective, in terms of signing those checks and everything for everybody associated with the Democratic National Committee and stuff like that, she oversees a lot of that. So the point is the infrastructure that is in place, the personnel that works for the Biden administration. I'm sorry. Obviously, it's the Biden and Kamala Harris campaign. So
for the campaign.
For the campaign.
What you don't understand is
right
when you gave money to Biden
and Kamala.
So she was the only person who could not only tap the money, they've got 1,000 campaign workers, 100 field offices. So if anybody else was chosen, they would have had to completely build a national infrastructure from scratch. That's why it never made sense. That's why when all these people wouldn't mention her name, oh, we need a young, fresh Democratic voice. I'm like, why y'all scared to mention her name?
Yeah.
She was the only logical choice to assume the campaign mantle.
Well, they're going to sit up there and say when she was running for the presidency and she was in the primaries, Roland Martin, she couldn't even get, to the debate stage. She was at the debate stage, but she couldn't couldn't make any inroads. To that, you say what?
5 years ago. Let me also remind people, in 1988, an Arkansas governor named Bill Clinton gave one of the worst convention speeches ever. 4 years later, he was accepting the nomination for president and was elected to 2 terms. Let me also remind people, Joe Biden ran for president several times.
Lost. He lost the first 3 primaries in 2020. What happened? He won the nomination. He won the presidency. And so folk need to stop freezing Vice President Kamala Harris in time. She has been on the national stage now for 4 years. She has been traveling. She's met with more than 100 world leaders. She's been sitting down as a part of negotiations for a variety of major bills. She's gotten the experience. That's what's the most important. And see, all these other people who were governors, you don't know how they act on the national stage. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a guy named Fred Thompson. He was a television actor. That's right. Law and Order. Law and Order.
He was a senator of Tennessee.
That's right.
When he announced, like, oh my God, this is the coming of Ronald Reagan 2.0. He's tall, his voice, he could campaign. He was a dud. You never know how somebody is going to operate when they got that national spotlight. Just like in our business. You can be a great local sportscaster or journalist. When you get to them national, that's a different ballgame. That's the major leagues.
Roland Martin, let's get real here, because it's Roland Martin Unfiltered talking to Stephen A. Smith, so it don't get much realer than that, my brother. We're black men, and we know that most of us ain't trying to vote for no daggone Donald Trump. We made sure we're clear about that. But other than not voting for the other guy, if you're Kamala Harris, what do you say to black men and why they should vote for you outside of not voting for the other guy when you take into account her record, as an attorney general in the city of San Francisco, an attorney general in the state of California, a senator on Capitol Hill, a United States senator. There have been even Democratic candidates that have roiled against her because of her record with incarcerating black men for nonviolent crimes and what have you. Those were years ago, like you said, a long time ago, but you know that kind of stuff is going to come up, and you know Republicans are going to throw it in our face every chance they get. How do you answer that question?
Here's the first thing. Most of that stuff are lies.
Okay.
So what happened was, and I'll take you back to 2019. I had said to then Senator Harris, as well as her sister, was her campaign manager, in March, y'all have got to confront your criminal justice record. You got to talk about it, and you cannot allow the narrative to be established. They waited until July to roll out her criminal justice plan. It was way too late. And so, all of these stories, Kamala Harris locked up thousands of black men, put them in jail for prison. Lies. So there's a video out, and I'm gonna send it to you, that is detailed her actual record. It addresses the lies. My man Drew Bullock, goes by Drew Comments on Twitter. He has done more work talking about her record. Reese Colbert has done more work studying her record. So those are lies. So the first thing they got to do is immediately go to the heart to dispel the lies, because the Republicans are going to sit here and, yes, try to wield that bat against her, against black men. Let me also remind people of something. When the First Step Act was signed into law, they got to go backwards. Where did the First Step Act originate? It was actually in the Democratic controlled House. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, then Congressman Cedric Richmond, they were working on that. It passed the House. Then it went to the Senate. Guess what? These are the senators who said this bill ain't good enough. Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Dick Durbin, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley. They improved the bill. So then Senator Kamala Harris made sure that the criminal justice bill, was strengthened. And so they are going to have to be aggressive in setting the record straight and dispelling the lies and stopping any misinformation that's being driven on social media. That's going to be paramount.
Well, let's make sure we educate the audience. When you're talking about the First Step Act, you're talking about criminal justice reform bill that was passed. That's what you're talking about, because the House, the Congress was divided on that issue, and somehow, some way, they got things done in that regard. Let me go to the other thing that they're going to throw in the face of anybody who's thinking about supporting Kamala Harris. They're going to remember that she was supposed to be the border czar. And yet 10.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed the borders in this country during their administration. How do you respond to that, Roland Martin? What do you say? First
thing was, she wasn't the border czar.
But that's what they call her. Even some of the Democrats call her that. Even some of the Democrats call her that.
Right, but she wasn't.
Okay.
The White House never called her the border czar. First of all, so remember, she went to Central America. She said, folks, do not come. They were dealing with a lot of the policy issues. But the reality is, you have the Department of Homeland Security. That was a mistake for them to allow that border czar, because really, what could she actually have done? But her campaign, they got to address it. And if I'm her campaign, this is what I say. Republicans, that was a bipartisan border bill. Senator James Langford, Republican, Oklahoma, was leading it. Donald Trump said, don't pass it because I need to campaign on this. I will hit his ass with it every single time. I will say, you stop the border bill. You told Republicans don't vote for it, and they listen. And you got him on tape. You got Republicans on tape saying, yes, Donald Trump told us not to sign it. That's how you respond. And you hit them every single time.
Do you consider yourself, getting a little personal here, Roland, do you consider yourself, I don't want to say just a liberal, because I know you're more than that. But I'm talking about somebody, we look at people like, you look at the MAGA right, you look at the progressives on the left, there's two extremes on the fringes, and then everybody else moves, some a little, some a lot towards the center. I'm a centrist, vote left. So I'm a fiscal conservative, and I'm a social liberal. I always say that about myself, Roland. I vote Democrat 99% of the time. That's black folks, okay? No question about it. But Kamala Harris has been labeled by the right as somebody who is a bit, dare I say, more radical than a Joe Biden who is about making deals and stuff. This is what they say. I mean, I'm just listening because I knew I was interviewing you today, so I'm listening to these people all morning long. And this is the kind of narrative they're going to try to create about her. What do you say to that, Roland?
Well, remember, she was a district attorney in San Francisco.
Right.
She was attorney general in California.
Right.
So their whole deal is, oh, California, liberal, 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 liberal. But the reality is, there's a lot of red in California too. You can go to Orange County and some other places. So the reality is, when you look at her position on reproductive rights, they call her the same thing because of her position on same-sex marriage. That's what they do. I don't care who you are. Remember, Joe Biden is a moderate Democrat, and they call him a radical leftist. So you know that's going to always come. See, for me, I'm a voter. It's what I tell everybody. I'm a man. I'm a black man. I look at issues. What matters to me? And so when I'm looking at, have I voted for Republicans before? Yes. Have I voted for Democrats before? Yes. Independents? Yes. But when I look at right now, the Republican Party, the MAGA Republican Party, when I look at Trump's Project 2025, there is no way in hell I will support anybody that stands with that thug. There was a great tweet that went out. There was a guy who's one of the co-founders of OpenAI, Vadon something. So Elon Musk sent this guy a tweet like, you need to get on board. You need to, get on board. And this guy wrote an amazing response. And he said, I'm sorry, I believe in climate change. I believe in the rule of law. And he listed the narcissistic, lying, cheating. And he said, I may want the continued tax cuts, but I cannot support that. And so that's when you reach your point, Stephen A. This is when I called out Chris Christie on ABC This Week, September 2021, and they ain't had me back on since. When I said you chose party and power over principles, morals, values, and ethics. And for me, when I listen to what that man says, let me remind people, on the night that man accepted his nomination on Thursday, he had an admitted racist on tape in Hulk Hogan introduce him in that night. And he had Kid Rock, who loves to use the N-word and drape himself in a Confederate flag, perform. If those are the kind of people you will allow to introduce you, accepting the nomination, there's no way in hell me, as a conscientious black man, could ever support that.
Donald Trump gave his speech Thursday night, and I thought up to that point that if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, it was incredibly organized. It was a good production. There were some decent speeches, etc. I thought they looked as organized and as together and as united as ever. And I thought Donald Trump showed up and messed it all up. His speech was the one, everything that they did for 4 days, for 3 days and practically for 3 days and 99 hours out of 100, this man messed it up. With that one speech, I thought that's how awful it was. And prior to that, Roland, I was actually, when he got shot and the blood was trickling down his face and he got up surrounded by Secret Service and was waving his fist and the American flag was behind him, I was like, yo, it don't get much better than this for a politician. You can't get a better photo than that. I thought, yo, he secured the election because if Biden's going to stay in and you got that photo, he's in a world of trouble. And that one speech made me go, well, damn, I got that wrong. Because I couldn't believe it.
Even after the assassination, I didn't believe it because the reality is he still is who he is. Remember, they were like, oh, we're going to have a message of unity. And remember, Biden campaign announced that Saturday evening they were taking their campaign ads down. Not even 24 hours later, he was tweeting some nonsense, and the campaign said, we putting them ads back up tomorrow night. He is who he is. Donald Trump has no bottom. Alberto Gonzalez, who was President George W. Bush's Attorney General, said, I am scared of that man getting elected because he has shown us he's going to abuse power. He is who he is. Donald Trump can't fake unity. He can't fake being humble. He can't. He's not. He is a deranged individual. And you heard that speech, Hannibal Lecter and all. The man talked for 92 minutes.
Yeah.
But here's the other deal. We've had updates every day from Donald Trump's, President Joe Biden's doctors about COVID. How is it that the shameful mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, how have they not demanded that Trump's doctors come out and explain his injuries? It's as if everybody else in that Ronnie Jackson letter, hell, he ain't even got his license. He's an idiot. So this is the double standard here. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I don't care. Stephen A., I fundamentally believe a bunch of these folks in mainstream media desperately want Donald Trump back in the White House. They want the chaos. They want the ratings. They want the daily reality show. I absolutely believe it. And when you look at this coverage, how they won't cover certain things, how they won't fact check, and then they go, well, that's just Donald. No, unacceptable.
Well, I'm not going to say they don't fact check, Roland. I think they do. I think here's the thing. The dude, listen, he doesn't mind embellishing. He doesn't mind lying. He'll do it to your face. The sky is blue right in front of you, and he'll tell you differently. He don't care.
Wait a minute. He'll tell you the sky's green, and then you say, Donald, the sky's green. He'll go, I ain't say it was green.
And but listen, and we move on because we've grown accustomed to it. But the flip side to it is that if it works, it works. Because all he's trying to do is get back in office. And that's what it really, really comes down to. I think they fact-checked him. I just think it's a situation where, damn, you don't even have enough television real estate to highlight all the things that he says in a lot of it. Well, they say they do. Well, they
won't, but they also both sides it. Both sides is, well, both sides. No. I've always had a very basic rule in my career. If you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. At the end of the day, I'll talk about you. If one person lies 50 times and one person tells 5 lies, I'm not going to give the same time to the 5 lies as the 50 lies. And I think what happens is this, well, man, we can't go too hard. No, he's lying. And you have to be honest with the people. It's like I had God rest his soul, Chris Messler was a black conservative. Black Republican. Chris died a few months ago. And black Republicans say, Chris, I don't understand. You go on Roland's show and he don't yell at you. He don't call you out. Chris said, because y'all asses lie and I don't. He said, if I lie, Roland gonna chew my ass out. The media has got to stop the both sidesism and all the same. They got to simply say, if you lie, we're going to call you out. And we're going to challenge you and not move on.
Right.
But they don't.
But let me interrupt you. I'm going to get personal with you here. And I'm going to say to you, I'm going to use the word, I don't know whether it's understanding or it's compassion, but here's the reality. I'm going to talk to you as my brother right here. You know more than most. And a lot of times I think you hold people accountable that just don't know. Like there are, like for example, I know sports. I might talk a little politics because, damn it, you ask me my opinion. I read the papers, I read the news. But you see, I defer to others when it comes to knowing, like yourself, because, damn it, I don't know because I'm not following it like that. So if I'm interviewing somebody and you got a politician talking about the CHIP Act and you got another politician talking about the border, and you got another politician talking about the immigration crisis or the economy, I'm going like this. Yeah, I'm listening, but my hope is you listening to experts like you and they say, yo, this is what he said. This is not true. As opposed to blaming the person that gave them the platform to say it. Okay, well, here it is. You got him on the record. They said it. Take it and do what you will with it, because you might know something that the person asking them the question may not know at that particular moment in time. That happens.
Yeah, I think first, like when I was at CNN, this happened all the time. Somebody would say something and they'd be lying, and I'll be sitting there going, "You ain't gonna correct that lie? Like, would you gonna let that lie just like run away?" And I'll be honest, I ain't got a problem saying it, Stephen A. A bunch of these people who are TV anchors, they ain't smart. They got producers who are talking in their ear. I'm sorry, you need to be well read. You need to be able to fact check people in real time because the audience expects it. The reason I don't allow people to lie when I'm on my show, because I don't want the audience to go, "Well, man, they said that, Roland didn't say nothing, so it must be true." So our job is to make sure that we are arbiters of truth. Now, what jumps out also, again, what we have to do is, that's why constant fact checking. And again, for Democrats and Republicans, you don't let anybody lie. I'm gonna get this here, you're gonna crack up. So I got caught up in the airplane vortex Friday.
Okay.
With the breakdown. So flight attendant, maybe in Frontier or Spirit, I don't know. Older sister, she comes over and she said, "Hey, I'm concerned Project 2025. We got to educate the young people." So I'm trying to listen to my gospel music. So I take my earbuds out and I was like, "Okay, sister, here's some graphics. You can go here, you can go there." So then she goes to sit down. So then this other sister comes over, another flight attendant. She goes, "Did my colleague come over here and ask you about Project 2025? I said, "Yes." And she said, "Do you really? That's not Trump's plan." I'm like, "Yes, it is." So then she starts, John, and Stephen, you get this all the time like I do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking to the sister. I'm like, "Well, no, that's not true." She keep going.
Keep going.
And she keep going.
And then you got to check them.
And she keep going. See, now, Stephen A., now I'm trying to be the nice off-air
Right.
Uncle Roro. But her ass kept pressing. And then I wouldn't let Joe Biden walk my dog. That's when I had to, Stephen A., I was laying back like this here, listen to music. And then I set my ass up.
Yeah.
Then I start, name me one policy. I started hitting her ass with questions. And well, I said, "Hold up, you can't name one." She started moving the goalposts. For the next 20 minutes, I was on her ass. The other people around were like, you know how like when you listen, you're like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh." And I was killing her.
And she
And I
started
told
it.
her,
She started it. And so now,
Hey,
so now you got to watch it because you got to watch the language while you're talking to her now. But you got to take it off.
Then I call her a liar. "Don't you call a woman a liar?" I said, "Well, don't lie. I don't be using a woman card on me. You lying." So I tell people, look, if you're going to sit here, and if you want to sit here and debate professionals, and you want to keep pressing, we're going to hand you your ass like we do on TV. Now, I was trying to be nice,
Right.
but it was a perfect example of this woman who, and Biden's just horrible. He's this, and Trump, she started just lying. And I was like, "Baby, you're not going to see." And again, what kicked in was, I can't let you lie in my presence. I can't. I don't let a man, listen, my mama might say something in a group chat. "Mama, that ain't true."
Yeah, you might say it, but you're gonna be nice about it because that's mama. You
No,
ain't stupid. You ain't stupid. Don't take off mama now.
No, my mama posted something. I said, "Mama, don't you post nothing
Right.
again unless you run it by me.
There you go.
What you posted on Facebook is wrong."
Let me throw this at you. Is this how Kamala Harris is going to need to be in the debate against Trump?
Hell yeah. Here's what I would do. I would be pressing. I would say, "You gonna lie again?" For 8 years, Donald Trump has claimed that he signed the Veterans Choice Act. I would sit here and say, "Donald, can you stop lying? That bill was pushed by Biden and Obama signed it into law. Can you stop taking credit for something that President Barack Obama did?" I would even wait on the moderators. When he lies, I'll be sitting there going, "No, that's a lie. Domestic oil production has happened under Biden, Harris, and any other administration in history. Donald, you lying. We gave $16 billion to HBCUs. You submitted 3 years of budget cuts for HBCUs. Donald, you lying about the child poverty rate. You lying about Black unemployment. You lying about, that's how you gotta sit here and press him. You can't let him breathe. It's like She got to be Gary Payton playing defense on his ass. Just smother him. That's how you got to be. Because if you let the liar have an inch,
right,
they're going to take a foot, then a yard, then 10 yards.
Is she capable? Is she capable of doing what you just said? Because the one criticism that I've had about her since she's been in office, I remember one time I came right on this show. Roland, I said, stop giggling. Stop. When somebody asks you a question, stop giggling. It's an evasive tactic that comes across as you being uncertain or insecure about the answer you need to give. You got to go out there. You can't play with this dude. You can, because say what you will about him. He knows television. He knows the camera. He knows how to drop a one-liner and win the argument just by that alone, because people are fixated on the one-liner that he dropped as opposed to the substance behind his argument. So she's got to be ready for all of that, Roland.
Right. Well, remember, if you go back to those Senate hearings when she was all over Jeff Sessions and over Brett Kavanaugh, that's the Kamala Harris has to be there. But also her team has to prepare her what I call the split screen. I remember when Van Jones joined CNN and I called Van and I was like, Van, they're killing you, bro. So I would literally, and Van would tell you, we would have constant sessions after every one of his appearances. And I was essentially teaching him television. Now I remember telling him something. I said, Van, when they having a conversation that's going on, don't sit still. If somebody says something you disagree with, do this here. Shake your head. I said, it's a nonverbal action, and the host is going to see it and then go, Van, you disagree? And that's what Joe Biden didn't do in the first debate that he did 4 years ago. If I'm Kamala Harris, when he talking, first of all, I'm listening to him, but I ain't even looking at him. I'm looking at the host. And when he start lying, I'm going to do this here. I'm going to smile and shake my head.
Or you just got to sit up in your chair. Or you just got to sit up in the chair and like what? What you just,
right? No. What I'm saying is, they're gonna have you on a split screen. So what you do is, while he's talking, you're shaking your head because you're telling the audience he lying, and then he'll come back to you, and you pounce. So that's the mode that she has to be in. And so I hope her team doesn't over prepare her. What I would do is take one of a question, take 1 point, and expand. I thought the criticism I had of Biden in the first debate, he would go, number 1, number 2, number 3, that's over-prepared. That's not natural. Take that 1 point and pounce. And then, and Donald Trump said this the other day in a rally, and I gave somebody this tip when they went on Tucker Carlson. I said, arrogant white men don't like being laughed at, especially by black people. I did this to Glenn Beck, and boy, he was so hot with me. I started laughing at him on the air. Donald Trump said in the rally of the day, they laughed at me. I don't like people laughing at me. If he started lying, I would do this here. Man, you just keep lying. I would laugh.
I disagree with you because I think I think the laugh of Kamala Harris gets held against her more than it gets held against anybody else.
I don't mean her laugh.
Right.
I'm talking about that you full of shit laugh.
Right.
That's the laugh I mean.
Well, Roland,
because again, he's gonna come unhinged. He hates being mocked. His sister said it in the book. He doesn't like being mocked. And then you got to remind him, we beat you last time and you kept lying about the election loss. We're going to beat you again. That's going to eat at him. It's going to make him mad. That's how you throw somebody off. Man, if I'm Vice President Kamala Harris, just go study some tapes of Muhammad Ali.
No doubt. Rope a dope, no doubt about it. What's the demo that Kamala Harris has to secure for this to win this election?
The most important thing, and this is the piece that this is one of the reasons why I was different from people about Biden dropping out. Biden got a larger percentage of the white vote than Hillary Clinton did or Barack Obama. So Biden had a white coalition, white seniors, white independents, white suburban voters, white college voters. They have to hold that coalition. They have to hold that number to at least 40%. If it goes to 39-38, they then have to over-index on Black and Latino. They got to hold their white coalition. That's going to be critical because 70% of the entire electorate, white. So if they're seeing any slippage, let's say from white seniors, and remember, 65 plus votes more than anybody else. And this is why I keep trying to tell millennials and Gen Z, stop complaining about, man, we sick of all these old politicians. Guess what? Old people vote. If y'all vote like old people vote, y'all will outvote everybody. Everybody. The numbers are the numbers. So what she's going to do is go hard female vote. Remember, Donald Trump got 52% of the white female vote in 2016. It increased in 2020. So I think with the Dobbs decision, I think that you're going to see a different view of white women. So if she's able to knock him down anywhere from 3 to 5 points with white women, going from 52 down to 47, 48, that's going to be huge. I think she's going to be aggressive and really trying to speak to the 18 to 35 demo. That's important. But she also is going to have to really get aggressive in strengthening her Black and Latino numbers. Because for African Americans, her numbers are not Obama numbers. They're not there. So she's going to be speaking to the issues, addressing what the agenda is going to be. I'm actually participating in a Black male call tonight for brothers who are supporting Kamala Harris. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern following my show. We've already got about 40 plus speakers. The goal is to have 10,000 brothers on that call. And by the way, before you continue, how can people know to get on that call tonight? What do you need? If they go to my social media, they'll actually see the sign up there. We're also going to be streaming it on my YouTube channel and the Black Star Network app. So if you can't get into the call, you can still see it in terms of on the platform.
Give your social media channel. Give your social media.
Instagram, Twitter, Roland Martin. Same as TikTok, Snapchat, fan base. It's all the same. And so you just go to youtube.com/Roland Martin. You can watch it there.
Last question. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought. Then I got one last question. Go ahead.
So I just think that, again, as she's developing her agenda, you're going to actually see that. But I really believe if they're going to use Project 2025 to nail Trump, which is why Trump keeps saying, I don't know anything about that. That's not my plan, because they know it's so potent, because it is the most shameful political document since Jim Crow.
Real quick, Project 2025. I brought it up last week. What stands out about it in your mind? Just a couple of nuggets. Just throw out there.
What jumps out, they have a serious part of that to target what they call anti-white racism. They are going to go after any program that has been helpful to minorities, especially Black folks. They are going to reclassify the fight against white domestic terrorism. That's going to happen. The FBI director said the greatest national security threat to America is white domestic terrorism. They don't want that, because that's their voters. So you got that, and Black people over-index as federal workers. They are going to demand a MAGA loyalty oath from federal workers, or they're going to fire upwards of 50,000 federal workers. This thing is real. This thing is real. It is dangerous. They've got stuff in there, Stephen A., that reclassifies overtime pay, all sorts of stuff. So it is an unbelievable. It's 1,000 pages, and trust me, what did Donald Trump say in his speech? I'm rehiring Tom Homan. Who's Tom Homan? The author of Project 2025.
Roland, before I let you get on out of here, very last question. There's a vice presidential candidate that has to be picked in the event that obvious happens, and Kamala Harris is our Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States come this November. They say, there are folks that are saying, analyzing this, you can't pick another Black because you can't have 2 Blacks on the ticket. You can't pick another woman because you can't have 2 women on the tickets. You've even got some folks out there talking about, because of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on, particularly since October 7th, it might be troubling for her to pick a Jewish candidate because it could affect the amount of votes that she receives. They're saying all of this. What's right? What's wrong? What direction should she go in to pick her next vice presidential candidate, Roland Martin?
So let me say this here. I always love the people who were like, oh, identity politics. She was a DEI pick. But so was Joe Biden when Obama picked him. What if they say Obama needed a white man with foreign policy experience from the Midwest to talk to those voters? Biden was picked. So I love it how they never use identity politics when it comes to white people.
Well, Delaware's not the Midwest. Delaware's not the Midwest, but I got you.
No. Remember, he was in Pennsylvania. So And so they always talk about that. Here's the most important thing. You need a VP pick who the nominee is comfortable with. I know we talk about battleground states and all sorts of stuff like that. The most important thing, who is that person comfortable with? And I think looking at the list and looking at Shapiro's only been governor for a couple of years. You got Whitmer, you're not going to have two women. You're not going to have Westmore, you're not going to have two blacks. I think the person who can be the most helpful, who she is most comfortable with, is North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. Why? Because they were attorney generals together. They already have a relationship. He's a 67-year-old white man. He's term limited. North Carolina is a battleground state. And so I think those factors come all together. I think it's going to be North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper.
More than Beshear, more than Shapiro.
Yeah, because you want somebody who you're comfortable with. Look, Stephen A., you've had co-hosts.
Yeah.
You've had executive producers.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having somebody, y'all got to be on the same page. Y'all got to be simpatico. Y'all got to be together. And that's really the most important thing for a vice president. You want somebody you're comfortable with because she already knows him, and it's a battleground state, and it's a 67-year-old white man. So he can go out there, he can talk country, do all this sort of stuff. I mean, all those factors, I think those are all the elements that it points to Roy Cooper.
Roland Martin, Unfiltered. I know you're going to have a show today, right? Ain't no doubt about that. You're going to have a show today, right?
Well, I was supposed to do a 1-hour tribute to the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Because I'm from Houston, I've known her longer than any other House member. God rest her soul. She died Friday. I'm going to push my tribute to her on Wednesday. But we going 2 hours on all of this. Then we're doing a blackmail call. So yeah, I'm going to be live for 5 hours. It's about to be off the chain. And I'm going to be rocking this shirt on the show as well.
No doubt. Keep doing your thing, man. Proud of you. Keep helping me out.
I appreciate it, brother.
Much, man. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. The one and only Roland Martin. Roland Martin, Unfiltered. Make sure you check it out tonight. Oh, it's going to be off the chain. Make no mistake about it. That's how he rolls. That's just how he rolls. Coming up, are the men and women of USA basketball both in trouble after what we saw this weekend? My answer may surprise you a little bit. That's next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airwaves, YouTube, and of course, iHeartRadio. Back with more in a minute. It pays to get paid on Cash App. When you deposit your paycheck on Cash App, you can get a little extra protection with up to $50 in free overdraft coverage. Having a little extra cushion to give you peace of mind at no extra cost is a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's nothing better than having peace of mind or a peaceful moment like going out to dinner with friends who are picking up the tab, knowing you have enough money to cover that unexpected expense, finding the last metered parking space on the street. So once again, getting paid on Cash App isn't just convenient. Cash App has got you covered. That's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Let's get to some sports topics before I get on out of here, please. Arike Ogunbowale led Team WNBA to victory over Team USA by a score of 117-109 Saturday night at the WNBA All-Star Game. It wasn't even that close, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling y'all that right now. Arike set a new scoring record with 34 points and won the game's MVP for the second time. It was a repeat performance of 2021 when she beat Team USA in that All-Star Game as well. All the chatter on social media afterwards was about why she was left off this year's Olympic squad. As for this year's snub, Ogunbowale acknowledged she withdrew herself from consideration due to, quote, politics behind choosing players. She shared her reasoning on the Nightcap podcast with my brothers Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco Johnson before the All-Star Game. Listen up.
When the list came out and your name wasn't on it, what was the first thoughts that go through your mind?
Well, the thing is, I pretty much had an idea that I wouldn't be on it. So there's trials and stuff that go on throughout the years and previous, and you do it and you see the vibes. And I mean, me being me, I just felt the vibes. Like, honestly, when it comes to that stuff, it really doesn't have much to do with your game. It's really about who they feel like fits with the team, which,
okay,
I mean, that's on the men's side too. You know, you could have said Kyrie could have made it and stuff like that. Like, the committee say they look for people who, you know, I don't know, honestly, but I could already tell like that wasn't the type of vibe they were going. So I actually took my name out the pool like months ago. So
all I want to say to y'all is this. When I told you that Caitlin Clark should have been on Team USA because of reasons that didn't have everything to do basketball, marketing and all of this other stuff, everybody was tripping. All of a sudden, we see Ogunbowale, who dropped 34 points in the second half, by the way, who's the second leading scorer in the WNBA behind Asia Wilson, by the way. We sat up there, and she's basically telling you, politics, politics, politics. Of course it plays a role. It plays a role in everything. Everything. When you look at Ogunbowale, and you see what she brings to the table, you know she belongs on Team USA. When you saw what she did to Team USA, that's evidence that she belongs on the squad. Oh, by the way, when you think about Team USA, you trying to tell me Kyrie Irving shouldn't be on that team? From a talent perspective, you think that he's left off the team because of basketball, as opposed to tweets that he put out that might have offended the Jewish community at one time, and how people were talking about that, or some of the other things that he did. You look at Jaylen Brown, he's not on Team USA, okay? Conscientious brother, good man, don't bother anybody, works hard, is an elite player, and now a champion. So he was an Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he was an NBA Finals MVP, and he doesn't get put on a team ahead of two of his teammates in Drew Holiday and Derek White? Really? You don't think that his social justice activism has something to do with that? You don't believe that what he said about Nike may have had something to do with that? Politics always plays a role in something, ladies and gentlemen. When they're talking about fit, they ain't just talking about fit on a basketball court. They're talking about fit in the public arena, PR-wise, because you're representing the red, white, and blue. And the people who make those selections take all of those things into consideration. So Ogunbowale, I don't know what the reasons would be for leaving her off, but clearly she had some thoughts about it, and she said it. I applaud her for it, because it's obviously true. Before I get on out of here, let's talk about Team USA's men's squad that overcame a 14-point deficit to beat South Sudan 101-100 this past weekend. LeBron James scored a go-ahead basket with about 7 seconds left to secure the victory. ESPN Bet had Team USA as a 43.5-point favorite over South Sudan. Look, international competition is national competition, and the players from South Sudan who qualified after beating Angola last year, okay? We get that they got players from New Zealand and Australia and other places. We get all of that. But in the end, here's what it comes down to. Team USA was favored by 43 points, won by just one. And who had to save the day for them? A soon-to-be 40-year-old LeBron James. By the way, South Sudan hit about 14 to 33 from three-point range. Team USA shot 25%, 7-28. Missed 12 of their first 15 three-point shots. They ain't gonna get it done in the Olympic competition against what's waiting for them in Paris. I'm telling you that right now. And in the end, give South Sudan major props, major credit, all of that other stuff. But here's the bottom line. Do you know in South Sudan they don't even have indoor courts? Do you know this about them? There's no excuse for the game to be that close. And it ain't about all of this underestimating the competition. It's about the fact that they couldn't shoot the damn basketball. Now, Kevin Durant ain't there. And when Kevin Durant's there, we know the last problem he's going to have is actually shooting the basketball. So I expect better times to arrive. But take notes. If you don't shoot well from three-point range, if you don't hit perimeter shots, you may be in jeopardy of not coming home with the gold. That's the lesson to take. It ain't about underestimating the competition. It's about the fact your asses couldn't shoot. That's the issue. Remember I said that. Meanwhile, LeBron James will serve as the flag bearer for the United States at the 2024 Summer Olympics. Here's the moment LeBron James found out he will be the first U.S. men's basketball player to be selected as flag bearer. Check it out.
On behalf of the entire men's Olympic basketball team, we would like to nominate LeBron James to be the flag bearer for all of Team USA.
He got that honor, so you get to wave the flag in Paris, my man.
Ladies and gentlemen, he deserves that honor. I got Michael Jordan as the greatest basketball player who ever lived. I got LeBron James right behind him at number 2. You could throw Kareem in there because he's got a better resume than everybody. I get that. But when you consider LeBron James coming into the NBA at 17, 18 years of age, being on the cover of Sports Illustrated labeled the chosen one, when that was considered being tantamount to the black cat running around, bad luck would ultimately come your way. And then you take a look at the expectations that were heaped on his shoulders and how he's exceeded it. 10 NBA Finals appearances, 4 NBA championships, 4 league MVPs, the greatest scorer in the history of basketball, a perennial all-star, a marquee whose box office and shows up and answers the call night in, night out, spanning over 21 years. He is the epitome of a great, great role model. And when you talk about the United States of America having somebody to represent them as the flag bearer, there is no athlete that deserves that honor today more than LeBron James. Salute to the king. Congratulations. He deserves it. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I'm out of here until a couple of days from now. Until then, peace and love, everybody.